Welcome to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. Every Wednesday, Mark and Kim, along with their special guests, will explore thought-provoking topics and ideas that promote creativity, self-help, healing, happiness, and well-being to inspire you on your spiritual journey. Each week, Mark and Kim will discuss different paths to achieving a more spiritual, balanced, happy, and healthy lifestyle. Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience, and all things spiritual. Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. Mark and Kim are tested, certified, and professional spiritual mediums, metaphysical teachers, healers, and spiritual advisors with their own individual spiritual practices in Seattle, Washington, and Los Angeles, California. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
And happy Wisdom Wednesday to all of our inspired listeners out there. So glad you're with us today on Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. Did you know that 43% of children in the United States live without a father figure? Today, we're going to be talking about how even under these circumstances, children can still have a level of success in adulthood that others might not expect. That's right. There's always something good that can come from any situation. But first, I'm Kim Falcon, founder of Love First, where life transformations happen in Encino, California. If you're looking for support on your path in the way of greater understanding of life events, perhaps a little energy healing, hypnotherapy, or looking to further your spiritual development, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me at lovefirst.info. Joining me today is the best co-host in the whole wide world, Mark Lanehart, the intuitive prospector. Mark, how you doing today?
Hi, Kim. Hello, inspired listeners. Welcome back to what Kim said was Wisdom Wednesday here on OMTimes Radio. Thanks so much for just hanging out with us today. I am your co-host, Mark Lanehart, and I'm coming live from Seattle, Washington, here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. I, too, Kim, have a couple events coming up that I want to get out there for our inspired listeners. On June 12th, I've got my first hike of the season, what we are calling forest bathing on Forest Fridays. So you can look for that. On June 12th, I'll be in Spokane, Washington, teaching a metaphysical and mediumship workshop. I'd love to work with you there on June 12th if you're in Spokane, Washington. And then on July 16th, Kim, I'll be down in your neck of the woods, and we're going to be teaching our first Inspired Living Radio workshop. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I cannot wait, Mark. I can't wait to see you again, and I can't wait to have our workshop.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't believe it's already June. June 1st already. And then on July 23rd, I'll be at the Conscious Wellness Expo in Kent, Washington here. So if you want to find out more about the work I'm doing in the Seattle area, you can just go to my website at marklanehart.com. You can just do an internet search for The Intuitive Prospector, or I'm on all the social media outlets under Mark Lanehart or The Intuitive Prospector.
That's right. And Mark, you do such great work. I can't imagine that anybody wouldn't want to look you up if they were in the Seattle area.
Thanks,
So in the meantime, if you can tell everybody how they can find us on social media and also where they can hear us, our podcasts after our live broadcast. And also, Mark, with the new month here in order in June, we've got a new inspired affirmation too.
We sure do. It's June 1st, and I'm working off a new microphone. I just upgraded my microphone here in the studio, so I'm trying to get used to that. But yeah, if you want to catch the encore shows, we have our schedule at OMTimes Radio under Inspired Living, and the encore shows stream all throughout the week at different times. If you do miss the live show today, you can also head on over to OMTimes Archives, iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Podbean, or marklanehart.com. And that's to catch any of our past shows that we've done this last year. Kim, we're already heading for 50 shows already, if you can believe that.
No, I cannot.
If you want to engage with us right now live on the air, head on over to our social media pages, Facebook, which is Inspired Living Radio, Twitter, which is Inspired For Us, that's the number for us, Google Plus Communities under Inspired Living Radio, or Instagram, which is Inspired For Us. So you can post your questions for myself, for Kim, for our special guest today. And then the positive affirmation for the month of June is happiness is a choice. I base my happiness on my own accomplishments and the blessings I've been given. I'll say that one more time. Happiness is a choice. I base my happiness on my own accomplishments and the blessings I've been given. And that is the positive affirmation for the month of June.
I love it, Mark. Boy, it sure is a choice, isn't it? I mean, every day we're given that choice. How do we want to live that day? In a state of happiness, I'll choose that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, even though we're going to be talking about some hard topics today, Mark, there's always something good that can come from a challenging situation. And for that reason, we're so excited to have our guests on and to learn a little bit more about this wonderful project that they have, the Fatherless Daughter Project. And I can just tell that this next hour is going to be a really meaningful one where people are going to be learning so much. And for those who are fatherless, there is hope out there. Our guests, Denna Babul and Karin Luise, are the co-authors of the Fatherless Daughter Project, Understanding Our Losses and Reclaiming Our Lives. This is a book written to set fatherless women on the path to growth and fulfillment by helping them to understand how their loss has impacted their lives. Denna Babul is an RN, and she's a successful life coach. She's a motivational speaker, an author, a medical expert, and the founder of the Fatherless Daughter Project. And Dr. Karin Luise is a sought-after psychotherapist. She's a writer, a motivational speaker, and also the co-founder of the Fatherless Daughter Project. They can be found all over social media, on Twitter, on Instagram and Facebook at the Fatherless Daughter Project. We will post all of their social media outlets on our Facebook page, so be sure to check that out. And their website, fatherlessdaughterproject.com. Welcome to Inspired Living, Denna and Karin. It's so great to have you with us today.
Welcome to the show.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love the topic that we're starting with, happiness. That was a great thought for the day.
Yeah, every month we have an inspired affirmation that we remind our listeners of every single week on Wednesdays. And as we remind them that there's studies out there that show you can rewire your brain with these affirmations. So happiness is a good thing to do that with.
Well, thank you. I think it's perfect for us because so much of what we want to do with what we're going to be talking about is helping people get away from things being so tragic, coming out of fatherlessness after they've grieved and done their work and choosing happiness. So we're starting off on the perfect foot.
Oh, very good. Just in having read both of your backgrounds, you both have your own unique story that brought you to where you are today and inspired you to create this organization and to write the book. And, rather than me reading your full bios, I would love for each one of you to kind of share your background with our listeners. We do have just a couple of minutes left until break. But if either Denna or Karin would like to start, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, Denna, go ahead.
Okay. Hey, I'm Denna Babul. It's Babul like table.
Okay.
I wanted to say, it's interesting to me as a registered nurse that the DNA can be changed by positivity and happiness. And I love all the new studies coming out because I think what happens when you're a fatherless daughter is a lot of your emotion tends to go underground and you don't know that you can, resurrect or change your future. So I think that's really good that we start out with this, and I applaud that. My background is colorful. So I started off as a registered nurse. I became a life coach. I've always spoke in medical forums and, I talk a lot. So I kind of parlayed that into motivational speaking. I have a podcast called Keeping It Real with Denna, which is on iTunes, and we just got voted for new and noteworthy. So that's exciting. And I like to do a lot of things, but helping people and being the voice for fatherless daughters is probably my sole purpose in this life. It's not something I set out for it to be. It's just what turned out to be. So I'm appreciative for it and really thankful to be on this show and hope that our message gets out there.
And Dina, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Where can our listeners find your podcast, and what are some of the topics that you might discuss?
Sure. My podcast is on iTunes or SoundCloud, and it's Keeping It Real with Dina. Like I said, you can find it on New and Noteworthy. When we say keeping it real, we kind of go from fatherless to dating to empowerment, everything in that whole forum. We always have a fatherless daughter of the week that we focus on. Our last episode was on bullying, and we had a girl on that had been bullied throughout her life and also her family, so that's really interesting. And then we dedicated the next month to fatherless daughters. But there's a little bit of sass, a little bit of medical expertise, and a lot of fun on the show, so I'd love everyone to tune in.
That's great. Now, Dina, you too, you lost your father at a young age. That's
yeah,
right?
Yes, 13 to be exact.
At 13, and that's such a critical time in any teenager's life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because at 13, it's interesting. Karin and I it was really important for us to go back and find the daughter where she experienced her loss, whether it was in utero or, where you were 65 years old. I think the oldest lady that we talked to was in her 80s and still would cry over her father loss. I was 13. I felt very called at that moment on the way home from the funeral. I felt like God spoke to me and I was really angry and told me that I was meant for bigger things, although I didn't know it was this. I was always very pulled towards fatherlessness.
Mm-hmm. And boy, isn't it something how loss and perhaps emotional trauma can lead us to brighter places. We do have a break coming up right now. That's our cue with the nice cheerful music in the background. And we want to encourage our listeners to stay with us. We'll be back in 2 minutes as we continue our conversation on the Fatherless Daughter Project.
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Join Vibe Nation radio host, international psychic medium Carrie Turcotte, as she guides her listeners to rediscover themselves by accessing the keys of knowledge that already exist within. Each week's show is divinely orchestrated to intertwine with the universal energies, allowing the listeners to go deeper within. At the end of each show, Carrie will tap into the energies of the listeners and give a message from Spirit about the upcoming week. If you really want to get to know who you truly are, join Carrie each Monday at 3 p.m. on Vibe Nation Radio.
Are you seeking answers to life questions? Would you like to connect to a departed loved one? Are you suffering from pain, stress, or anxiety? Kimberly Thalkin is a tested, certified, and professional psychic, spiritual medium, energy healer, hypnotherapist, and the founder of Love First, where life transformations happen. Love First services support, guide, and empower individuals by connecting them to their highest potential to live a healthier, joyful, and meaningful life that's filled with purpose. All services can be done by phone, Skype, or in person in Encino, California. Please visit lovefirst.info. That's LOVEFIRST.info for more information. As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Live with medium Lisa Phoenix, Mediumship Messages and Musings, explores mediumship and all things metaphysical. Lisa Phoenix invites you to reach above and beyond your everyday experiences, to explore new dimensions in the spirit world. She will do live readings to connect callers to their loved ones in spirit, shares engaging stories and teachings from her own personal experience, and will have intriguing conversations with other mediums, spiritual teachers, and healers to help you understand the metaphysical world so you can connect to these forces in your day-to-day life. Join your host on this magical and metaphysical journey into the world of spirit every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
And welcome back, inspired listeners. Thank you for being with us today and joining us with our special guests, Denna Babul and Dr. Karin Luise, as we talk about the Fatherless Daughter Project. Want to let our listeners know that our show today is being sponsored by Career Bliss 2016 workshop, which will be held on June 11th and 12th in Santa Monica, California. It's going to be hosted by Mark Langford, best-selling author and top 10 career coach. And this is going to be a really fantastic event for those of you who are trying to figure out how to discover and transition to a fulfilling career, but feel stuck or uncertain of how to make this move. This is your workshop. They will be featuring 6 expert career and business coaches who will teach you how to make a seamless transition into a more fulfilling, fun, and financially rewarding career or venture. To register now, go to Career Bliss 2016 workshop and enter in the code InspiredLiving100 to receive your $100 discount. You don't want to miss this. Thank you so much again to our guests today, Denna and Karin. Denna, before we went to break, you were talking about how at the very young age of 13, you were already receiving, I guess, messages or being guided intuitively to know that there was something bigger for you around this loss.
Yeah, in our statistics, I was 13. Between the age of 11 and 15, usually 15% of daughters lose their father. So I didn't know a lot of people around me that were obviously fatherless. My father, unfortunately, was murdered, and we never found out who did it. So there was a lot of fear-based stuff going on in my world at that moment. Not just the loss and not understanding that. Your brain's not totally formatted at that point, and you're dealing with fear. And so I was coming back from the funeral, and I, was having a conversation kind of in my head and praying and, why is this happening to me? And I felt God very poignantly say, you know what, you're going to have a tough childhood, and it may not get better right now, but your adulthood is going to be bigger than your wildest dreams. And I said, why? And he said, there's something that's going to happen from this. This didn't happen for, there's a reason this happened to you. And I carried that with me. And although I didn't know it was, to be the voice for fatherless daughters or to start the project, it was something that kept pulling at me. In my mind, I thought, something that's meant for you is, something much bigger, not the biggest pain of my life. But when I let go and realized that was the current that was pulling me through, and that was where my purpose was, everything came into line, into a perfect formation, and my life took off. And I like to call it getting in your jet stream, where you basically go where you're supposed to go and where your purpose is fulfilled, and things are no longer difficult and everything comes a little easier. And that's where I found myself in writing this book and starting this project and the documentary and the nonprofit.
My goodness, you really turned this situation around for yourself and for all of the women out there that you're helping now. Thank you so much for your work, both of you. And so, Karin, would you like to share a little bit about your background too? Because you came from a challenging situation as well.
Sure, of course. Yeah, when I was about 4, my birth father gave me up for adoption to a stepfather. So I lost, what we talk about in the book is that although there are many types of father loss, including death, incarceration, addiction, abuse, emotional absence, many women actually experience many layers of it. So people actually can lose their fathers multiple times. Say that there may be an addiction in the home, and then maybe the father passes away. So it can be reoccurring at different ages. And so for me, being kind of given up, even though I had a stepfather, always confused me as I was growing up because I didn't fully understand how someone could do that. And then my stepfather turned out to be abusive, and he and I are now estranged. He and my mother divorced when I was in my 20s, and I apologize. I'm actually at an airport in the Bahamas. Let me let that plane go by. Sorry. I'm taking one break before our book comes out, and this was the only place I could get Wi-Fi. So thank you, everyone, for understanding that life has adventures, and I'm on one today.
We're all jealous. We're all jealous.
I'm sorry. So, what was most painful for me was really just kind of the ongoing dysfunction that was in my home growing up by a man that really wasn't my natural father. And it was quite painful. And I ended up coping with a lot of different pretty negative coping mechanisms, severe depression and cutting and just a lot of things that we show in the book that girls tend to reach out to: alcohol, affection from males, and things like that, just as you're trying to find out like how you can get love, how you can get relief, how you can just find a place where you can escape some of the pain. Luckily, I had a very close relationship with God. My mom, through it all, even though she had her share of difficulty, she always was grounded in faith, and she's now actually a Presbyterian ordained minister. And she always taught me, and the church taught me to always go back to faith. And so, I would always go back and find that as my place of solace. And so as time went on, and I actually got divorced myself, I ended up kind of hitting rock bottom because, as we talk about in our book, that's usually when the pain resurfaces. So even though I was in a very painful situation because of an extreme amount of infidelity in my marriage, which was recreating what happened in my youth. And I realized later that the bottoming out was not so much, it was about my end of my marriage, but it was really about the unhealed wounds from childhood that were then being just kind of, the scab was just kind of ripped away. And I went to therapy, and I ended up with the guide of a therapist, being kind of guided into becoming a therapist myself. I was a school teacher. I taught early childhood education was my major in college. And I decided I wanted to work with adults after therapy really, really healed me. And I had some beautiful light workers that got me to a place where I felt strong again and felt that I was smart again and lovable and all those things that we can resurrect through the loss, and that those people that are sent into our lives as angels can help us do. And so I went back to school to get my master's degree in counseling and found out I was really good at it. And through the years, we talk about in our book how you oftentimes will lose kind of your sense of self, maybe lose your feeling of worthiness. And I didn't realize I was as smart as it turns out. I think that I am now, and I never had considered going back to school. And, there's a place, a beautiful spiritual gift that comes when healing comes. And that is realizing that, we have these beautiful gifts and that we can be very proud of them and we can reclaim them and use them, to grow instead of sitting in the pain and having that be your identity. Because I did that for a really long time. And so I went back and decided to go on and get my doctorate. And so I earned a PhD in counseling, education, and practice, and taught for a while at the college level and went to private practice, and then ended up getting remarried and having children. And Dina came to me with the idea, and I always knew, she and I became friends about 15 years ago. And she and I'll show our age now. We were about to turn 30, and we'd both been through these big breakups. And as time went on and we kind of grew together, she really kept coming back to me with this book and was sharing that she was already working on it and writing a book herself. And, of course, she can talk more about that because it's personal for her. But, it just kind of wasn't really the right book all along. And when we talked to agents, they really wanted a PhD on the project. And so it ended up that I was getting my PhD, and she came to me, and we had a few stops and starts. But what was really beautiful and why I love being on your show, because this is totally my wheelhouse, is that I ended up realizing I wasn't just the PhD on the in the book and on the project, is that I really needed to do some more of my own healing. And this book and the writing and the research that we did ended up bringing me to a place where I could do a lot of healing. And not only that, I ended up having a huge spiritual awakening in the process and learning about some spiritual gifts I didn't know I had. So you can tell by the end of the book, a lot of that comes out, because that's kind of when my awakening happens. So when readers read it, those that follow you guys and appreciate that part of life will see that there was a lot of mention of spirituality and the help that it brings for healing.
My goodness. Well, what do I say to that? Both of your stories are just pretty incredible. And I think, each one of you offers so much hope to women out there listening. It's like you guys are spiritual warriors, if you ask me, with just
take that.
Yes,
yeah, we will. Really. I mean, you need to acknowledge that about yourselves. I mean, so many, we talk about choices earlier today, the choice to be happy or not, the choice to be depressed or not, and, or let situations like that hold you back or not. Right. And,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
It's interesting because I was so adamant about the cover of the book being bright and full of life, because I think these daughters get a bad rap. A lot of people think a fatherless daughter is, going to have a sad life story or go down the wrong avenue in life, and it's not the case. Most of these girls have six-figure incomes. They are totally killing it out there in their world. The only thing that seems to make them stumble is their emotional relationship, and when they feel re-abandoned from a man or a great friendship, and that's when they do their work. But the biggest message that we have is that you can reclaim your life and that you can have purpose in your pain. And everything's positive. It's just a moment. It's just part of your story. It's not your entire story.
I love what you said. There can be purpose in pain. There can be purpose in pain. Boy, that's
Rumi. There's a quote, Kim, that Rumi has, and it says something about that the place of the pain is where the light enters you.
Yes,
and I post that often. It's so beautiful because it's like there's a time for grieving. I'm a therapist and I'm clinically trained, and I do think that there needs to be tears when they're felt, and in no way do we ever say that you should lily pad jump over it, because we do address that for most of the book. But then we talk about the light entering and purpose coming out of it. And I hear the music.
Yes, that's us leading into our second break. Stay with us. What a great note to end on as we head into break. We'll be right back in 2 minutes.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
The truth is, you can't change the world if you're broke. I know, I tried. Isn't it time you turned your life's calling into a profitable, freedom-based business? I'm Michelle Barr. Join me every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for Sacred Success.
What if business could be fun? What if business is the adventure of living? What are you choosing? Where do you do business that makes it easier, more fun, or more joyful for you? We'd love to see where you do business. Connect with us on Instagram at Joy of Business or Twitter at Joy of Business, and share your pictures with hashtags BusinessDoneWhere and Joy of Business. Let's change the world with business. One planet, 7.3 billion people, only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Mark Lanehart, the intuitive prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Mark's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream. Dare to explore. Dare to live. For more information on Mark's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marklanehart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.
Hi, I'm Kelly Fox, host and astrologer of The Astrology Show. Each week, I'll give you access to the current transits, which are a valuable tool that provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has. Understanding the stars can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, be sure to tune in to The Astrology Show for guidance, Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
The cutting edge of conscious radio, OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
And welcome back, inspired listeners. Thank you for being with us today. As you know, we are talking to Denna Babul and Dr. Karin Luise as we talk about the Fatherless Daughter Project. We're all calling in from all over, I guess, the world, some international in the Bahamas, Atlanta, LA, and Seattle, talking about a very important topic. But first, I want to mention again our sponsorship. Today, our show is sponsored by the Career Bliss 2016 workshop being held on June 11th and 12th in Santa Monica, California. It's going to be an amazing weekend workshop for those of you who are not sure about how to transition into the work that you're passionate about or would love to do. There's going to be 6 expert career and business coaches there available to you. To register now, go to Career Bliss 2016 Workshop and enter in the code InspiredLiving100 to receive your $100 discount. So before we went on break, Karin, you were talking about a beautiful quote by Rumi as we were talking about pain, experiencing pain that can actually serve a purpose. And where there's darkness, the light enters in to help in transformation.
Yeah, I think, when I read that quote about a year ago, the pain is the point where the light enters you, it opened up so much for me because it transitions the place where you're hurting the most into something that can be full of hope, full of light, full of something that has just a meaning beyond what it means in the pain. And so, Denna and I have been very, very focused on, she talked about the cover of the book being very hopeful. And, what we didn't want to do was to keep girls stuck in their story. We wanted to bring a safe place for women to tell their stories, and whoever it is that is reading the book, because we have moms that are also engaging with us and even fathers. And so there are a lot of people that have shared their stories with us, but then we want to help them walk the bridge into, like Denna said, that it not being the entire story. Like it's a part of the story, but it's not the end of it. And so you can rewrite the story, and every day, like Mark pointed out with the quote in the beginning about happiness being a choice every day. While there's a time for grief and a time for really naming what you've been through and being able to speak the words, there's a time to release it and to feel okay with it. And I think that a lot of what we talk about, and for me, and Denna has been through it too, is there's all these different, there's amalgam of emotions. You go through all this guilt, and, oftentimes women or young girls even are taking care of their mothers because the father's left the home or he's passed away. And we talk about the emotions really going underground. And so, you've had this kind of heaping pile of stuff just piled on you for all of these years, and you're trying to hold it together. And there is often not someone that's supporting the girl, and the issues usually aren't dealt with because she really wants to be strong. And so to unwind those as she grows up, is so important, and to get the help that she needs and to find her place in the next spot. But then where we meet the reader, in the last couple chapters of our book is, okay, here we are now. We've named it. You've spoken it. You've used the words that maybe you were afraid to use before. And now, the truth is out, and there's that beautiful relief in that. And then let's come into a place where we can rewrite the story. What can we do and bring positive, outcomes to, what we're going to be doing moving forward?
Well, and what's so encouraging is that you bring stories to the table, including both of yours, where women they're triumphing over a situation that could be debilitating because, it doesn't have to, the story doesn't have to get worse, or you don't have to stay in that story, but sometimes people choose that. And so it's nice to know, it gives them hope that there is a way out, and the way is through, and there's healing, and people can rewrite their story at any time. And I love that encouragement that you guys provide for the women that are going through these types of difficulties. So we talk about the Fatherless Daughter Project organization. Tell us a little bit about that, and what all that you offer through this organization is just such a beautiful resource out there, having been on your website. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. We'd be remiss if we didn't really discuss the anger here, before we get into that.
Sure.
There's a lot of these women and girls, daughters of all ages, that carry a lot of anger just below the surface, and they retaliate or act out or go from 0 to 60 without really a neutral space, because they really don't know what's pissing them off. And so what happens is they, kind of focus on the man or the job or the great friendship. And when it, has its issues or ebbs and flows like everyone does, if a girl feels as though they're going to be reabandoned, they can somewhat get out of control and react. And a lot of times that scares the daughter as well as the boyfriend, the husband, the friend, or whoever, and kind of puts them in the, quote unquote, crazy lane. And what we really want to impress here is it's okay to feel that, and it's okay to act out, but it's not okay not to take a look at why you're doing it. And so one of the things we wanted to do with the nonprofit and having a home for these girls, which we call their home spot, at the Fatherless Daughter Project, is provide a tribe or a sisterhood that shows, hey, you're not alone. And so we have a mentor program. The book is meant to be, obviously a book that you can pick up at any point in your life, whether you're getting married, divorced, having a baby, just going through the loss of your father. You can find yourself. But we really encourage people, when they start to read the book, to write their own personal story. And as they go through the book, there's different areas where they can add their own parts of their story and kind of reclaim parts of their lives or let go of things that no longer serve them. And by the time they get to the end of the book, they rewrite their story. And there's some statistics in a study that was done in North Carolina, actually about college students and people that were freshmen in college and that were about to fail out. And they came in and told their story. And when they heard people come in and give a positive college story, I think it was 85 or 90% of those people that were going to drop out stayed in school. And it's the same for these girls. When they find alike people and sisters or part of their tribe, they can go, hey, I'm one of you as well. So we feel like if you are one, you can teach one. So my dream would be for it to be in every city and state throughout the world, where almost like Alcoholics Anonymous, where fatherless daughters can have their own, whether it's a tribe of women that get together and go through the book, or what they do so that they can help one another and say, look, you're having a hard time, or this is the point you are in your journey. I can help you. We're also going to have fatherless daughter retreats. We would like to give money, scholarships for girls both in college and out of college. Maybe they didn't make it through college. Maybe they were confused and they want to reclaim, something else or a different thing that they see in the second half of their life, that we can help fuel anything that they're doing to better themselves. So there's many, many assets to the Fatherless Daughter Project, and we're just getting started.
Oh, I just love your vision for this project. And boy, if we could spread love and support like that throughout the world, just think of what the beautiful effects of that would be. So I know at Inspired Living, we're just so happy to be a part of a beautiful message like this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When you talk about fatherless daughters, what are some of the biggest challenges that they face in their lives? What are their struggles?
Well, I think we could go on and on and on. It's, one of the things as a trained therapist that Dean and I both agreed we needed to bring into the book was talking about the developmental issues that happen and how oftentimes, was just expressing anger, and I was talking about the guilt, like emotions rise up, and the girls are kind of lost, like what is happening. And so we address how, like your college graduation or your first breakup, or when you have your first child, developmentally, how if you're not there yet, or if you are there, here's why those things might be happening, and here's how you can handle them. Just be really aware and have those around you to be aware as well, so they can help you, through the emotions that you're using. And a lot of our research pointed to milestones. And so that's another piece that I don't think has been addressed as much as it needs to be, which means besides your graduation and your wedding or whatever it is that comes and dad is not there like you always expected him to be, there's also something we named age matching, which is when maybe you become the age, like when Dina maybe turned 13 and she realized that she was the age when her father died. Like recently when I turned, 23, and I realized that's the day that my dad, might have left, and then our home kind of fell apart again. And you sit and you realize I knew my dad at that point and what was happening, and I'm that age now. Or the other part that's really critical is when you have a child, especially if you have a daughter, and your daughter becomes the age that you were, that there is a significant amount of emotions that can come up. And the issue that I keep coming back to is how surprising it can be. And so, Dina and I both, as we wrote the book, were like, and we still go through it. I go through it still now, where something will bubble up and it's like, oh my gosh, and I'll have to sit and say, this is not about what is happening in my heart right now that's so strong, even though it's about the pain I'm feeling about this fight with this one person or the fear that this one thing may be taken out of my life. It really goes back to this really strong experience of abandonment where there's such a sense of powerlessness. You didn't have a right to vote. Either dad left by choice.
Okay, it looks like we have both lost. Well, we've lost both of our.
I'm still here.
Oh,
Dina's
you're still here. Okay.
Let me pick up because I know where she was going with this.
Sure.
She's talking about age matching. So when I was 42, my dad died. He was 42 years old. When I turned 42, how it affected my life when I was 3 years old, when my dad left our family before, his death. And when my daughter turned 3, how that affected me. So we look at that developmentally where you are, because, what we found is the girls that we interviewed or surveyed, they would say, well, I'm different. My father died, or I'm different. I was 2, or I'm different. I was 25. And really, we split it into 2 major parts. If your dad left because of a divorce or death. And if he left because of divorce, these girls are a little different. They seek more attention from men. They're more critical of their fathers, and they have a defiant behavior towards authority. Whereas
Dean, if you could just hold that thought for a moment. Sure. That's our third break. We'll continue on when we come back in 2 minutes.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hey ladies, do you want to have that good hair day feeling all the time? Gentlemen, would you want your special someone to have that glow, letting you know she's feeling completely satisfied? This feeling and that glow can be yours by embracing your sexual power. So join me, Rachel Kenley, award-winning romance author, on the O-Spot. The O-Spot will guide you to that peak with guest interviews, book discussions, and conversations on the thrills of sexual empowerment. Put the zing back in your life. Come up and see me sometime on the O-Spot, live on Hump Day at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Looking for inspiration?
Want to be inspired?
Not sure where to go?
Find Mark and Kim every Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Inspired Living.
Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual.
Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
Spiritual, metaphysical, green living, psychic, alternative healing, life coaching, Do any of these or similar terms apply to your business or cause? If so, you are in a niche market with a very specific audience. Conscious Gate PR is the world's leading conscious public relations agency. With a global reach of over 4 million and growing, we offer comprehensive media campaigns to our targeted market. Learn more at ConsciousGatePR.com. Conscious marketing for conscious minds.
Hi, this is Julie Geigel.
And I'm Alicia Isaacs-Howes.
And I'm Catherine Glass.
And we're the Psychic Angel Channelers. You can find us every week here on OMTimes Radio at Angel Talk Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time.
The angels have heard your call and are here to help.
Are you ready to receive?
Remember your magnificence with Angel Talk Tuesday.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
And welcome back, inspired listeners. As you know, we've been talking about the Fatherless Daughter Project here with our guests, Denna Babul and Dr. Karin Luise. Our show today is sponsored by Career Bliss 2016 Workshop. To learn more about that, you can go to Career Bliss 2016 Workshop. And if you're interested in signing up, enter the code InspiredLiving100 to receive a $100 discount. So, Denna, before we went to break, you were talking about a very important concept of no matter where women are in their path or how they lost their fathers, that there's some way for them to connect. Is that correct?
There is. We were talking right before we went on break about the difference between the two subsets, whether if the father divorced or abandoned the family, whereas on the other hand, if the father passed away. And I think it's really important to highlight these different aspects of these daughters, because a lot of times a girl that has lost her father, whether it's, all the mirage of different reasons, is for them to understand that they're all alike. When a girl loses her father due to divorce or abandonment, some of the things that they deal with, or they seek more attention from boys. They're more critical of their fathers. They're a little more defiant and towards behavior and authority. They don't like anyone telling them what to do. They constantly seek attention from not just adult men, but also adults. They want affirmation or confirmation. Mm-hmm. They're more physically aggressive. And take on more of the male energy, whereas a girl that lost her father because he passed away may avoid contact with males altogether. They may lean towards being asexual in a way that they don't want to have a sexual encounter because they don't think that they can handle the emotion of it. They have a more idealized concept of their father. They feel a lot deeper of the sadness. They're angry, but they can idealize their father, so they're more sad about what could have been. They have intensified separation anxiety. So they may ask their husband, to constantly say, or their boyfriend, when are you coming back? You told me you would be here, because they're the fear of the unknown. They deny and avoid feelings associated with losing their dad. Like, I'm good. It happened when I was 13. I've handled it, but they really haven't, because they don't know how to handle the emotion. All the other things come into play the same. They get reabandoned and these emotions all start back up, but they may feel differently than their friend. That's why Karin and I are good to put this book together, because we come from two different subsets. And, how we formed our own sisterhood and made it through this together, even though we came from different sides of the fatherlessness coin, if you will.
Boy, as you talk about reliving the pain, I can feel it. Like the loss of the father and then abandonment issues later in their life. My goodness. I can feel the pain just talking about it. Let's talk about something really uplifting now. What are some of the greatest ways fatherless women thrive when they've had the right support?
We love this part because while we did this research study and we had thousands of women come in and give us their input, and we wanted to talk about how they were negatively affected and all that, but then we loved getting to the part where we said, hey, what helped you? Let's talk about what got you through the day when it was Father's Day, and you're the only one standing there without someone to go have a barbecue with, or, you were standing, we talk about not having the right Hallmark card for the dad that, walked away from you, and you don't know whether to yell at him or try to get him to come hug you. There's all these confusing emotions. And so, what got you through those moments? And we found some wonderful things. It was just as simple as like half of the women were like music, listening to music. It's such a spiritual escape. And that, got me through it, laughing, finding a reason to laugh, get those endorphins going, which is, again, choosing the happiness instead of the pain, journaling, writing, whether it was writing their own story or just writing their feelings out. Again, a way to just release some of those things. Time with animals, as we know, are extremely spiritually healing presences in our lives. And, I do believe the animals choose us, and we choose them for the same reason, and they're there to help us heal. And so women have acknowledged that was a huge part of their healing. And, in spiritual and religious practices, we had a lot of women, about a third of our women said that was a huge part of their healing. And of course, travel and therapy and things that kind of gave another branch of escape. But, what we really wanted to look at was, what became like the positive, the strong parts of personality. And Dina's already talked about it, which is, because you got through stuff and you, and we're speaking generally here, and the women that we've interviewed, it seemed like most of them had a really strong sense of self, although you may have been forced to grow up early, which stunk because a lot of girls missed a lot of their childhood, and they missed being taken care of because there was so much going on around them that, pulled that caretaking away from them. What's really cool is they learn how to take care of themselves really young. And a lot of those women end up forming their own companies. They end up being beautiful caretakers. Where the gray area is you got to learn not to take on too much, as we, all know. But, we learned that there is this powerful sense of self when it comes to being a leader and being like the women tell us constantly. A lot of them become therapists, or, Dina's a nurse. She's in the caretaking field. She's an RN. She's also in sales. I'm a therapist. We found this huge percentage of women that actually were in the caretaking field, and they ended up harnessing, that part of them that kind of was forced on them to learn how to caretake. And they became, beautiful, light workers and healers in the world because, they learned at a young age, which gave them kind of a step ahead of those girls that, were being kids at the time. So we kind of flipped some of the things that felt negative back when they were young into showing like how they can be a positive outcome in the end.
And that is just so inspiring to hear. And I think that always is helpful, when you're going through something difficult, to hear maybe the challenge that someone else had that was similar that you can relate to, and you see how they work through it. And I know that just for myself, that's always been helpful. So this is just a great platform for these women to come together and be supportive of one another. Now, you guys do events as well, speaking engagements, things like that. Do you want to talk about any upcoming events you have where our listeners can maybe come see you?
Sure, yeah. Karin and I are just now starting to talk about this, but we have the weekend of October 14th. That we are looking to do our first Fatherless Daughter retreat here in Atlanta, a 2 to 3 day retreat where we'll take them through the book, but, give them the first day or so to kind of connect and tell their stories, a lot of interaction. We'll have therapists on site. We'll have life coaches, motivational speakers. We're going to try to encourage having a lot of fatherless daughters. We have grief counselors, different people that will be on site that can help them get through the emotion and start to tell their story. And as the weekend continues, we'll take them through writing their story and hopefully starting to see the light, as Rumi said, of their purpose. And once they're not carrying this big load spiritually, emotionally, or physically is another big part of this, of how it affects your body when you internalize this pain. So with me being the medical expert and Karin being the PhD in psychology, we want to bring all this together and talk about how it affects you mentally, physically, and spiritually. And hopefully you walk away from the retreat feeling inspired and ready to go out and mentor another fatherless daughter along your way.
And I'll add to it, Dan. I love this. And it just, right now our book tour the book comes out June 7th. And so we're 6 days away. And so we've both cleared our schedules for the summer because, the media tour and all that is which is why we're with you guys today, is still lining up. And of course, it will be on our website, thefatherlessdaughterproject.com, because we want to continue the conversation.
And we do have a piece coming out in Time online that, obviously it's huge and we hope captures a lot of audience for this. So we really appreciate any time we can talk about this. And Karin and I could talk about this all day long.
Well, yeah, you're just so, you just have so much wisdom and just beautiful information to share. And as you guys are talking, I just see a whole lot of healing happening at that retreat and some very special bonds, friendships, support groups, taking shape from that retreat. And if you need any energy healers out there, please let me know.
Okay, come on, you're invited. You're already. You're confirmed.
I'm putting that out there. I really love the work that you're doing. Yeah.
They can go to fatherlessdaughterproject.com and it'll, you can say you want to be a part of this, and then we'll send information after we get through the next couple of weeks of the tour.
All right. Isn't that great? And as we're nearing the end of our show, we want to just give you both just so much thanks and gratitude for sharing this hour with us and all the beautiful work that you're doing. We really appreciate how you're out there helping to heal people, which is so very important. So everyone listening today who could benefit from this work, please make sure to look them up on social media and also the fatherlessproject.com website. Mark, do you have anything you'd like to say as we near the end here?
No, it's a beautiful show. I commend you both on the beautiful work that you're doing. I was taking a lot of it in because my wife had lost her father to MS at a younger age, so this is hitting close to home. And between murder and abandonment, very powerful, life-changing, and inspiring work that you're doing. So just kudos to the both of you.
Yes, we would love that.
Yes,
we
please
love
do.
It. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then next week's guest, Kim, will be Joshua Shapiro. We're going to be talking all about the Crystal Skull Tour that's coming to Seattle. So looking very forward to that.
Yes, me too. And everyone have a beautiful rest of the day and a beautiful week. Thank you, as always.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Being with us. Namaste.
Be kind, be caring, be compassionate. Namaste.